It's definitely the out of all the cars, the one that makes you feel most alive, because you've got that noise, you've got the speed. You know, you've got the speed, but it's not. It's probably not as obviously it's not as fast as an Aventador or one of those. But I think that works in its favour, because you're getting through the gears and it's not over too soon, which you do get with more modern cars, I think. I'm Richard. This is our Lamborghini Murcielago LP640. The first Lamborghini we had was a Gallardo Spider, and that was a manual. We sort of worked our way through the R8s, and that was the natural progression into the Gallardo. And we absolutely loved that car. The exhaust on that was the standard exhaust, but it did sound really good. It really did bark. It did lack a little bit. I think it was too much Audi and not enough Lambo for us, though. We kind of felt it just lacked a little something. So we knew we had to go down the V12 route, which is when we decided on the Murcielago. Believe it or not, when we bought that car, we didn't even test drive it, and I'd never driven one before. But when you look at it, because it is such a wide car, and you kind of think, well, this is gonna scare me to death. Or it's easier to drive than it looks, basically. You've still got to respect it, pretty sensible with it. It's still got traction control, so it does look after you. And I remember when we did the Italian drive, it did wobble a little bit on me, which did scare me a bit, and it was a bit unexpected because we weren't going particularly fast, and it was quite a slow bend. But it did then, did start. But the car looked after me. We did all right, and we got to the end. But yeah, like I say, it's not as intimidating to drive as you'd think. With the gearbox itself, it's a single clutch, but for me, it brings more theatre to changing gear. You do feel like you're changing gears. You hear it, clunking, and it's going into gear. It also gives you that pause when you're doing that acceleration. It gives you that pause where you can get your breath back a little bit, and then you're back on it again. And you get that every single time. It's not just like pressing a button to change gear. It kind of brings all the senses alive. You got the noise, you got the vibrations. You got the feel of being pinned back in your seat, and then the sights, everything flying past, so that's it. It just all your senses come alive when you're driving that car. We've had nothing but positive, which is really good reactions to the car. Whenever you fill up, someone does come and have a chat with you, and I don't mind that at all. It's good it's good that people are getting out, getting the car out. People are seeing it. I know when I was younger, it was difficult to see supercars on the road, and there was no internet. I know that makes me sound really old, but there was no internet. You'd look forward to the next magazine. Every month they would come out. You would try and get to some dealerships maybe who might once in a while get something nice, and then yeah. So it's really good positive reactions we've had with it. Out of all the cars we've had, it's when you're on the road as well is when you get a lot of reactions. So when you're on the motorway, people are side by side with you, and people want to catch up with you and all that sort of thing. So it can be a bit unnerving sometimes, but yeah, it's been all positive. I mean, we bought it with 9,000 miles on it, and we've had it just over a year, and it's touching 14,000 now. So we've definitely used it. We do go to a lot of events with the club, and obviously with that European tour that added on 2,000 miles. It's brilliant miles. It was an unforgettable holiday that was with me and my dad. It was our first real drive out in the car as well, so we had it shipped out, and then we met you over there. We flew over, met the car, and yeah, the race was really good, but the driving afterwards was through the Alps, and everything was brilliant. It does feel like a big heavy car, But I think it's more nimble than probably, you know, when you look at it, it's more nimble than you think. And it, you know, it can get around the twisty roads, as long as they're smooth, it can get around them really well. The only thing that we thought was lacking with the car was the noise. We're just a little bit disappointed with that. I don't think there was a sports exhaust option at the time on that. It was just a standard exhaust, and maybe that's what everyone was happy with at the time. But I think as time's gone on, people really want more noise, more theatre. So with the Murcielago, there was only one route to go, I think, and that was a tubey. So we got a tubey fitted, and it just absolutely transformed the car. It just absolutely transformed it. You could, you know, before you might have to put your windows down to get the noise, but you can keep the windows up now, and you still get that, you know, that growl that it does. And those downshifts, it just magnifies the downshifts, you know, tenfold. And it just adds a lot more theatre to the car. I know my neighbours don't probably appreciate it, you know. Starting up at 7 o'clock, you know, to go to some of these shows that we go to. When we first bought the car, it was serviced by Lamborghini, so we've not had to service it yet. But when we did come back from the Italy trip, we did put it through to a Lamborghini dealership just to have it checked over to make sure everything was okay. They didn't seem to find anything you wouldn't think would be expensive, but they did come back with a big bill. But you know, the car drove fine. There was absolutely nothing wrong with it. But you know, the things like they would see a scuff under the front bumper, you know, they'd want to have that probably all replaced, and you know, so that's when things get really expensive. I think they found a slight oil leak between two pipes. We had that issue with the indicator where it would just stay on when you turn the engine off and pull the key out, which was just a relay. So you wouldn't think that'd be expensive, but unfortunately the relay is right buried beneath the dashboard, and I think the relay itself was about 500 quid. So in that instance we took it to a specialist and paid the third of the price to have all the work done, you know, all using Lamborghini parts. So I think servicing wise we'll want to keep up the full Lamborghini service history, so we'll get the servicing done, but anything that, you know, any bits outside servicing will just get done by a specialist. We have our cars go to a really good specialist that we really trust, and they do a really good job, so yeah, we'll just keep taking them to him. It would have been, we got the car probably about 2017, yeah, so the early part of 2017, and we knew that the Best of Italy race was coming up with the Supercar Driver Club. So we knew we wanted a Murcielago, we wanted to get it in time for that. There's not a lot on the market, and there's definitely not a lot of UK cars. We actually saw, it wasn't that one I went down to buy. There was a grey one. I can't remember the name of it, but it's like a flat, it's not metallic, but it's, you know, it's a lighter grey colour. And it was at VVS. So we went down there to have a look at it. That was actually a Singapore import. Didn't really put us off too much, but what did put us off that car, it had the SV seats in it. I don't know if you've sat in one of those, but I didn't think they'd be so bad, but when I sat in it, I just, for the few minutes I was in it, I was uncomfortable, and there's no adjustment to them. And you know, knowing that we're going to be doing a European trip, we decided that's probably not going to be the car. And then, you know, they had this one here, similar sort of miles. Really do like that white. And out of all the ones they had, I think condition-wise it was the best. And I didn't even know at that time that was a UK car. And I think VVS has probably got the largest selection of Murcielago, so you know, it was quite a good place to go to have a look at a few different ones, and I think out of all the ones he had, I picked that one out as, you know, being the best condition, and it turned out that it was actually a UK car, so that sealed the deal on it, really. Murcielago is definitely the most undervalued, you know, Lamborghini at the moment. Obviously we want to try and get something that, you know, that doesn't depreciate, you know. It would be nice if it did make a bit of money while we had it and had a bit of fun with it. So yeah, it was partly, you know, financial decision, but I think it's just such good value, you know, for the equivalent Ferrari or McLaren. I think this is just so much, you know, for your money at the moment. I think they are going to go up. They can only go up in value. I think they probably, when they first came out, I think they were subject to probably lazy journalism. You know, it was around the time Audi took over them, and I think they all sort of jumped on the, well, you know, Audi have taken them over and they've taken the magic out of them. But I think they just made them more usable. They're not too heavy on the steering. I mean, that's a flappy paddle one, but they made the clutches lighter. But I think they still made it so that it had that spark, I think, anyway. Well, my dream car when I was driving up was growing up was the Ferrari F40. You know, that was the pin-up car for me. You know, as we all know, the values of those have just gone silly, haven't they? So, you know, in an ideal world, I would love to have a Ferrari F40. That would really, you know, that would be the absolute pinnacle for me. The Diablo was the other car. That's the other car that I really wanted when I was younger. But again, I mean, you think the value of the Diablos are even more than you know, Murcielagos, and I think the Murcielagos, you can live with those more. I think you know, you've got your power steering, you've got, you know, your light clutch and all that sort of thing. You can actually drive them, I think, you know, on these roads. So I don't know, I might go back to Diablo. It might be one of the ones I'd go to and experience. They say you shouldn't be your heroes, so I don't know in that instance. I'll have to drive one and see what happens.